Alright, YouTube, we're gonna start. Alright, YouTube, I'm back with another video. It's another Tommy G video. This time is how American guns get smuggled to the Mexican cartels. I've already seen many things of this. If you know, if you know me, you know I'm from San Antonio, so that's just the backstory. You know, I just understand certain things, but we're gonna get into this, and it looks like we're starting at the border. So I think I was crazy. All right, let me turn it up a little bit. And also, everything is reacted to live on my Twitch channel. Link in the description. Yeah, let's get to it now. Hey, watch out. Watch out, Nor.
Money for myself and that other people make money from it. Today I'm going to discuss how guns are brought from the United States into Mexico.
Bro, she's singing to the chords.
Yeah, probably the most dangerous you can have. It's literally just storing it away and sending it about its way. So my mom was in jail. I need to put food on the plate. I ended up sending it to somebody who ended up taking it to California and making money off of it, so everybody ate at the end of the day.
2009-10 was like our wild west days out here, where we were in chases every day.
See, most people do it for money, for family, bro. That's why it's like you can't always see everybody as bad, bro.
Scout Hills.
At what age would you say you officially joined an organization?
So I was about 10, 11 years old.
We spoke with a cartel member last night that alleged that one of the ways it gets through is
Okay.
paying off Border Patrol,
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like that's gotta be a way. That's definitely a way.
I disagree with that.
It's a lot of corrupt people.
To buy a Border Patrol agent?
Damn!
How many guns can you get across the border?
95, honey.
So close with that. Use it for
Shit, I would too, bro.
The power Mexican cartels have accumulated.
I ain't trying to get caught up in none of that,
Jalisco
cuz.
New Generation Cartel and the Sinaloa Cartel leading the charge.
That's the one I've heard a lot about.
These paramilitary crime syndicates have global reach. They are heavily armed, deeply connected, and
Them
absolutely
niggas running some
ruthless.
fucking military,
Specializing in
bro.
drug trafficking, human smuggling, extortion, and more, these organizations pull in billions of dollars every year. And the United States plays a part in this because the ugly truth behind some of their power is American guns. Now, as Americans, we get mad about the fentanyl flooding across
Look at
our
all the
border. But
Texas
what about
news,
our
bro.
guns that are flooding into Mexico? In this episode, we expose the pipeline from cartel operators to U.S. gun smugglers running thousands of firearms across the border to the law enforcement agents fighting to stem the flow. These folks are the players in this deadly supply chain of power and violence. And would you believe that some of our own three-letter agencies might be involved? This is the story
I
of how
still don't
American
know.
guns end up in the hands of Mexican cartels.
Look, CIA, FBI, bro, they don't really do their jobs, bro. It's all for money at the end of the day. Just like healthcare, bro. We know the cures to like damn near everything. Odd and big. He's such a just a bold person, bro.
What's up, brother? Good to meet you.
I'll be scared a nigga might try to kidnap me while I'm finna interview him, bro.
Is it true that different people in the game are on the run right now?
Oh yeah.
Kabachi.
Most of the people I know just either their people either got hit by, one of the three people that were going out there raiding people, or just had some shit happen, or some people getting audited and they gotta go on the run. So Mexico is just the go-to right now. States are too hot. State troopers, Border Patrol up in Phoenix.
Bold people, bro. You couldn't catch me doing none of
fear
that.
that if you did a
I'm
bad
pussy.
business transaction that someone would come looking for you?
I don't fear for my life at all in this situation, is because throughout this whole business, I've been clean business. I see myself as way of just normal, civilian that's out here just trying to make money. So you're gonna have the...
Wait, hold up. Let me focus on your message. Also, hey, plot. And the benefits are government. Oh yeah, they definitely, yeah. I have a friend who literally, her dad got deported, and they don't do anything. I don't know the way. I don't like getting into politics, but like, without getting too deep, let's just say
itself.
the person in there isn't helping. Let's just keep it at that. I don't like getting into politics,
I
bro.
go by that off that person at a price where I can make a profit for myself. Or I send someone into a store to go get something from me, and I have my people that I sell it to at a pretty good markup. I
still think it's crazy how we can just easily go and buy AR. That's crazy to me, bro. Like, I think we should only be allowed pistols for.
So you don't physically drive.
Like, what do we need ARs for? Like hunting, okay, cool. But like, you don't even need one damn, bro. Nord.
Would you say you have a
Chill.
dangerous job?
Yeah.
Yes.
Most
The
dangerous
fuck?
you can have.
What type of question was that?
Just dealing with, you know, legal issues. You're also dealing with territorial issues.
For those not familiar, the Sinaloa cartel is one of Mexico's most feared and notorious drug cartels. It was led for
They're
years
the
by
ones,
El Chapo
yeah.
Guzman, a ruthless kingpin famous for running a global crime empire and escaping a Mexican prison in
that guy, bro?
2015 through a mile-long tunnel. He was recaptured in 2016 and extradited to the United
A
States,
good guy
where
to
he's
his
now
family,
being
bad
held
guy to
in
us.
ADX Florence, America's most secure prison. He's locked up alongside people like infamous gang leader Larry Hoover and the Boston Marathon bomber. And with El Chapo behind
Those
bars,
are gonna do
Sinaloa's
just fine.
future has never
Yeah, when it
looked
comes to
more
hunting, yeah.
uncertain. But
I
make
agree
no
with you.
mistake that from Chicago to California,
But I'm
Omaha
just
to
saying, like,
Phoenix, the Sinaloa reach is still quite
Damn, I
powerful.
think we should only be able to afford pistols because, like, ARs is just crazy. Like, you don't need something that can spray 30 bullets in, like, what, 5 seconds? Or most of them? Like, even my dad has ARs, and I'm just
All right,
like,
folks, we have a sheriff pulling up from
For
Pinal
what?
County. He's had a
But then
lot
again,
of
my parents are
experience in the
military,
field.
so
We're going to be interviewing
they use it
him
for
as well.
protection. They don't just use it to use it.
Wildest collection of patches
Damn.
I think I've ever seen. If we interviewed a cartel member,
Wait, does that shit say hope is not a good plan?
wildest collection of patches that I think I've ever seen.
No gun bunnies? Oh, you got the Blue Lives Matter shit in there, bro.
If we interviewed a cartel member last night, what are the odds that he
I
would be
always question
Sinaloa
people like
given the
that.
control they have in the area? If he's not Sinaloa, then he's risking his life.
What's your process
Damn.
to do it?
It's literally just.
That's
throwing
crazy,
it away
bro.
and sending it about its way.
And are you physically driving it in a car, or do you have other people do that?
No, you know, there's a chain of command and there's people that do that. You can go into a gun store right
Hell
now
no,
and
bro.
buy, you know, your typical mini-me, something like that for $9,000. But
Gross.
if I go to the back of the truck, I can get it for $5,000.
Plot, without being
You
like political,
work
how
for
do you
one primary
do you like or
cartel,
dislike
do you
who's in office right
freelance
now?
amongst many?
Just what?
Is there any difference in
Or,
how
like, do you
difficult it
disagree?
is to do business from the Biden administration to the Trump administration?
There might be a couple hiccups, but it's all business. It's all the same. Honestly, it's crazy. I mean, I can't imagine the border right now. People are scared to go.
Okay, just wanted to see what type of page, if we were on the same page. I think we are.
Because like some of this shit is like they'll load your car up with like 20 gloves. And like imagine trying to drive across the border, like thinking that, and then if the X-ray's gonna pick you up, shit like that.
Alright, I've been through Border Patrol, and I can first-handedly say, them niggas don't check shit. If they think it's suspicious, they'll check you. But if they don't check shit. I was on a bus one time with like all my like football team and everything. Niggas didn't check nothing. I'm just saying. Border Patrol don't know if they do their job. Because me personally, I'm checking the whole fucking bus. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. It could been a cover up.
The border got tighter, you know, things are hard to do. Get into America, you know what I mean?
Was it actually that easy with Biden as president?
I felt like there was a lot more things coming in.
Is it noticeably
Damn.
more difficult now that Trump is in office?
Yeah.
Under the Biden administration, it was a free flow of everything. The people have stopped coming across so much. I mean, we're way down. I think we were at about 7,000 to 12,000 a week, and we're at like 300 to 700 a week now.
Damn, that's
Did you
it.
officially joined an organization?
So I was about 10, 11 years
10-11 is crazy.
old. Years of paradise.
There was a study done by the
No one
U.S.
wants to be
government,
here,
the
yeah.
Government Accountability Office, that found that 70% of firearms found in Mexico traced their roots to America. Does that surprise you?
Hell no.
Lowballing it.
Yeah,
Bro, America isn't the best country no more, bro. I don't know where we get these fake reports that America's the best country, bro. So many other countries have the same shit we have, bro.
Probably a couple.
Shit, what, like Switzerland?
Power
They got everything we got.
have
And they can't have
places
guns.
like this in Arizona. On the American side, they are very smart businessmen, right? They don't.
Yeah.
They're getting a little more overt. about
America's
this
just
stuff, but you just don't have a lot of
socialism.
in your
Holy
face,
shit.
like you do in Mexico.
just go to
right?
Mexico,
We don't
be
have rolling
millionaires.
gun
That's so
battles
weird.
here. Sinaloa holds pretty good.
I don't
control
think I
of
could
our
move to
state.
Mexico, though.
They have
Not-
given it up.
not with how
They've
they-
been here a lot of years.
Are there people in
I'm pussy,
America
bro.
that are officially part of a
Like, I think I'm
cartel,
tough when
or
it comes to a
only
lot of
people
things,
in
but
Mexico?
not the cartel shit. They got that one,
All over
son.
the world.
They got that
We'll
one.
just put it
I like my...
Now, according to Arizona law, these gun smugglers could face up to 10 years in prison if caught for the crime. But what's interesting to me is the
10
same
years
U.S.
ain't
government
nothing
that
for
will
them.
hammer these guys for selling guns also like to sell a lot of guns overseas themselves. This has happened a lot of times in recent history, but let's just highlight a couple of recent examples. Take the Soviet-Afghani conflict in the the 1980s. The CIA funneled tens of thousands of guns to the Afghan fighters, the Mujahideen, to win the battle against the dreaded Soviets, our enemy at the time. Fast forward a few years later, the same Mujahideen fighters that we armed with the guns that we gave him, some of these guys later turned into the Taliban, which was really good for the military-industrial complex because this fueled another 20 years of war and profit. And most recently for the United States politicians and arms manufacturers, we have sent billions to Ukraine and Israel, which some could say the US taxpayer is indirectly responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of people, including women and children. So while a low-level smuggler might spend a decade behind bars for moving a few rifles across the border, the corporations and politicians who benefit from this arms dealing will walk free. Because when the violence is industrialized, no longer a crime, it's just good business. Is there any misrepresentation?
That's why I like Tommy G, bro. He always like breaks it down and stuff. He's never biased. Like, fuck media.
Representation of the American media about the
Joke, I'm just saying what he says.
Like, basically that they're horrifying terrorist
The news is propaganda, bro.
Yeah.
It's not how they picture it though. It's so media is so brainwashed, and they say, oh, the cartel, it so runs this whole area, and if you go there, they're gonna kill you, or this and that.
Facts.
Yeah, the cartel runs one specific area, but as long as you're there and you're not causing no trouble, or you're not out there to steal from nobody, or just sell anything, you know what I mean? If you're just there on good terms and like checking in, everything be good.
Do you think that's a fair picture of American?
I think I've dead ass heard every cartel say that. From every video I've ever seen. The cartel people always seem chill and stuff. They always say, as long as you don't mess with us, we don't mess with you. But I also don't know how true that is too. So.
The government ain't helping.
But every video I've ever seen, every person said that. It's always different people.
Side bombers or people in the United States go do mass shootings and get their agenda across or anything. You know, most of the things that cartels do, unless it's someone in America that was working with them and fucked them over somehow, that's when they'll go after you as a person in America.
What do you think about Trump potentially labeling cartels as terrorist organizations?
Then he should start here with the people on this side.
What do you think would happen if Trump tried invading Mexico or drone striking cartel operations?
It's not that big.
Currently in the news, the U.S. and the Trump administration is considering using drone strikes against the Mexican cartels. But how do we know if these stories are biased, how they're being framed politically,
too close to that
if
shit,
we're getting
bro.
the right scoop on what we're being told? This is where the sponsor of today's
I like
video
my
comes
steak,
in,
bro.
Ground News. What they do is they pull thousands of stories across the internet and compile them, and they rate the reliability of the story based off the political bias of the source, which is very helpful because they give us an indication of the reliability of the stories that we're hearing. Just take these stories about drone strikes.
Alright, I normally skip ads, but I want to hear this one.
Center or lean
I normally
right.
skip all the ads, but I want to hear this
Compare
one.
these headlines side by side. Take this left-leaning
probably
source
gotta
that
pay
says
for it.
drone strikes will lead to another Vietnam, and take this right-wing source that gives the counterpoint that cartels are using drones to spy on U.S. troops. One of my favorite parts about Ground News is their blind spot feed. What it does is it shows me stories that I might not receive based off the biases I might have or how my algorithm is structured, and it shows me more of a full and complete picture of what is happening in the world. Ground News helps me see through the noise, see through the bias, and help me be better informed. If you subscribe using my link or QR code, you get 40% off their Vantage plan, which is their most robust plan on the site. Go to ground.news/TommyG to get a better handle on the news you're receiving.
It's very, very, very much like the Italian mafia. They are very family oriented. I can tell you from.
Oh, okay. I was like, where's he going with
We
this?
have family gatherings all the time. We have carne asadas. We get together and play loteria. You know, all this kind of stuff. The difference being when they go to work, it could be to go skin somebody alive. That's their enemy. You know, this road
a lot of the shit they do
is a major smuggling route.
gory as hell.
I've had a lot of cases on this route.
And what road are we on right now?
We're on Stanfield Road. These mountaintops will have scouts on them. So all of these valleys out here can have routes where they are pushing people and product up, and they use those routes. The scouts guide the loads. When they get up here to
Kind of crazy how geography can completely
that's when
change
they'll
the
hit
whole
these
area.
regular routes,
They change what
blacktop
happens there.
routes on the freeway, shoot up into Phoenix because Phoenix becomes the hub.
And what are the odds someone has eyes on us right now?
Oh, pretty good, dude, because these are all scout hills.
Why is torture used so often amongst the cartels?
To get their point across. Like, the fuck?
So you're a runner, go to a gun store, get it. Let's say it's me. If I get flagged, okay, that's a mission that went astray? If not, how often would you send a guy like me to get it again and again and again?
I mean, I've had people that, you know, you wouldn't believe the number of stuff they got out under their name. It's really kind of strategic in a way, because the way the background checks work is it will show up as, you know, either a pistol or a rifle. It doesn't go into the system as that specific firearm unless the ATF is flagged and involved. You could have someone go store to store, get 5 guns in their name, just one day, clean record, all that stuff.
But you have someone in your family that has died from gun violence in Mexico.
Yeah,
Do you blame the guys in America selling the guns?
I don't. I just blame
The shooter.
the shooter, really.
How do you feel about being involved in a business that arms the cartel?
It sounds worse than it is in a way. I mean, you think about it is, what I'm doing is basically doing what larger corporate
Corporations
companies have done.
Bro, these niggas are always low-key smart, though. These niggas are always low-key smart.
Guns made in the USA. What I do is I still make those people money. You know, the big corporate, big gun industry still gets money from me, but I also make some money myself in a way by just doing what they're already doing, but on a smaller scale. Even if I stopped what I was doing, someone would just come and fill in for me. Might as well try to make my money in that way, and it's something that's happening in a whole different country.
So
He
gun
has a point,
smugglers
though.
will
Like, he
risk
dead ass has a
prison
point.
time for a few $1,000s of profit a month. But what about the big players
on,
of
bro,
what
it's not a
some
few
would call the
thousand, it's more. Come on,
military-industrial
bro.
complex?
A lot
Let's
of
just look at the
thousands, more.
Russia-Ukraine war, for example. Lockheed Martin stock hit an all-time high. Raytheon's production lines are going off the charts. Billions of dollars in weapons have flowed across the Ukraine border and across the
need to
European
invest in the
nations
stock
that are
market of
gearing up,
guns.
looking to refill their arsenal in what has proven to be one of the biggest spending sprees in defense since the Cold War. Now, this is where the gray area comes in. Is this right? Is this wrong? Because whether you look at Ukraine, Israel, Afghanistan, one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. I don't know the answer to all this, but what I do know as a tax-paying citizen is what I've gotten out of the deal are dead soldiers, civilians, destruction, a bad reputation globally, while these companies in the military-industrial complex have reaped the profits in the billions.
I wonder who
Well, I
actually
don't
is
think
on
the
the whole
gun
gun thing in
manufacturers
the US.
make the guns.
I don't know
to
how
give
that
to
guns
bad
work,
guys
or NRA, or like, I don't know how none of that works.
pillage and carnage their own countries. So I don't think that's a good way of looking at it.
What made you choose this job over anything else you could have done?
Money.
Honestly, the thrill of it in a way, and just a large interest in
Oh,
guns.
hell no.
On my part, the money's there.
He a
I'm
bold
looking
mofo,
for,
bro.
You know, finding some people. Honestly,
It will only
I
be the
think
money
this
for
is
me.
a lot morally acceptable than
Hell no.
drugs, safer than drugs, less corrupt, less dangerous, you know.
So my mom was in jail. I needed to put food on the plate. And then once people started offering me guns for product, and like tremendously, like no product was like damn near getting a gun for free. That's really what changed my eyes, because of some kid who went and robbed a car and found this in a gun in the car, and he was scared to have it at home. So he came to me and he said he didn't want that. He'd rather have a little bit of weed.
How much weed do you think you gave him?
Probably like 7 grams.
Damn!
And that same night, I ended up selling it to somebody who ended up taking it to California and making money off of it. So everybody ate at the end of the day.
Everybody
2009,
ate
10
and one
was
dude
like
smoked.
our Wild West days out here, where we were in chases every day. Load vehicles, stolen vehicles going south. So they would
They didn't even go after the people that
They'd
jumped
have
out the
a
car.
stolen vehicle out of West Phoenix down here within about 40 minutes. And so they would run stolen south. They would cross them over because there's
Bro,
parts
he
of the
just
border
dropped
just
it,
south of
bro.
us that are just barbed wire fence like this. So they would cut that shit, drive across, and drive the stolen into Mexico, load it up with dope, and then drive it back northbound under the dark of night. And so we would be out here in night chases with them, going after blacked out vehicles, chasing them through the desert, trying to get them before they got to I-8. The scouts would all coordinate their movement. So we would have counter scout operations where us and border
Do they know how to
Patrol
hit in,
would work
like, the
together
block
to try
brigade
and
where they
take
can,
the
like,
scouts off the hills when we knew
tap the
roads
car
were
and,
coming,
like,
so that they were
spin it?
flying blind essentially. And then under the last presidential administration, it was so wide open that they didn't need any of that stuff. Nobody was stopping them. So, and there were so many of them that there was just a flood of people coming through, a flood of dope coming through. Border Patrol was tasked out in all these other areas. It was like Thermopylae for us, man. I mean, we were up against, tens of thousands of people, and it's really not even our job, right? The immigration piece is not the sheriff's job,
Yeah.
but we were stuck with a lot of this stuff. Our military was essentially teaching other countries how to defend their country, right? And
Guys, we got to cover some more cartel history because
Honestly, it's
American
so
guns
crazy
are
how
not
them
the only
guns
thing
go.
that the United States has contributed towards the rise and dominance of Mexican cartels. Let's take you back to the mid-90s to Fort Benning, Georgia at the School of Americas, where for
Oh, not
decades
Fort
and
Benning.
still today, this was a place where
think
Latin
they changed the
American
name of that
military
place, too.
forces were brought to practice skills in things like urban warfare, interrogation tactics, and psychological warfare. The School of Americas has since been renamed due to many former students committing various coups and human rights violations across Central and South America. Classes here are taught in Spanish and oftentimes led by U.S. Green Berets. One of the groups that was trained here was GAFE, one of Mexico's elite special forces groups whose job it was to raid high-value targets and combat narcotics operations. In the 90s, about
Those
30 of the
made just
GAFE
for
guys eventually
Escalade, bro.
defected from the Mexican military to work for the Gulf Cartel, which they later left to create their own and one of the most feared cartels of all time, Los Zetas. Now, the majority of scholars agree that this was not some CIA psyop on purpose, but rather an unintended consequence on the part of the United States. However, there are known cases of former special forces guys being put on cartel payroll to teach their soldiers and sicarios advanced tactics. Just food for thought as we look at the history of how some of these cartels came to be. What's been your biggest month in revenue so far?
I think the best run I had is I made 70K in 4 months.
How did that feel?
Amazing.
See, that's what people make in a year, bro. You think somebody's not gonna keep doing it? Like, come on, bro. Be
Have you ever
realistic,
been
bro.
visited by a 3-letter agency?
Allegedly.
How was
Allegedly.
that?
Pressuring in a way. One of the things you want to do with that is you want to have them talk to you. You know, doing that, I was able to find out in a way what they knew about me. You know, where also I reflected where I went wrong, other factors, and how much they knew. You know.
So you kind of stayed silent and let them talk.
Yeah.
this is the Obama solution here.
So someone could be camping out here and someone's
Wait, what's
hustling
the
a
Obama
load.
solution?
Yeah, and we've had that happen where there's been people out here either hunting or just camping for a weekend, and they'll have a stolen vehicle in the middle of a chase, run right through their campsite and blasting up here to the interstate to get away from the cops. And so this whole area is kind of, again, just like the other area, all the high points.
Can you explain this, please?
Scouts. There's usually scouts on this hill, and there's scouts a little bit deeper in, and they're watching over the valleys.
The cartel member we spoke with last night said that if drone strikes were taken against the cartel, we really escalated against them, there would be a ripple effect where they're going to escalate the violence here and try and. I mean, do you see that as a potential chess move that really results badly for the American citizens?
No,
It's gonna
if
be
they
bad
just
for
look
both of us.
historically at the U.S., they would understand that that's a really stupid statement to make. I think it was Japan that woke up the dragon, right? I don't think they understand what they're saying. Like, that's fine to say,
Why do
and
we
there's a
always
lot of
bring up
machismo
Japan,
in that.
man?
Like,
It's
hey,
just
if
so
you mess
fucked
with me,
up.
you come after my family, I'll come after your family. That's all fun and good, but when you go to war on the U.S., that's a whole different level of
Yeah, war on the U.S.
that we're
different.
not going to put up with. And
Thanks.
I don't think they understand what would.
I don't think the cartel
hate that
have-
would come their
has
way
enough for
if
that.
something like that were to happen.
Do you ever have
Mexico, on the
sympathy
other
for some of
hand,
these guys
the state
that
of
like, hey,
Mexico,
well,
maybe.
I don't agree with what you're doing. I
The
get
cartel
why
individually,
you're
they're
in your own
predators.
situation.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, having a wife that's Mexican, there's some of her family that are involved in some of this stuff. I don't hate them. It's family,
wow.
and they're doing what they think they need to do to get by. And again, it's all circumstantial, man. What you're facing in
His
your
wife's
life and
Mexican.
how you're dealing with it, I definitely have sympathy for
He has
that.
to feel
I
some
don't
type
think
of
it's
way,
right
yeah.
for them to do what they're doing to get their money or to get ahead or whatever, but I can't fault them for trying to get ahead and do well for their family.
People, I think, in American media,
Valid.
like it's almost like
Valid.
these guys
I
are
like that.
monsters. Like, are these guys just normal people in a way?
Yeah, they're normal guys and gals in the sense that, just like us
Sure, it's
standing
for their
here, we
family,
can
bro.
sit and have a conversation. Now, in the right circumstances, would one of them kill me if they could? Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't get real personal. They're just trying to do their thing, and so it is what it is.
So you would have survived on your own from an early age.
Yeah, well, I have my sisters, really. It was really my sisters helping hold it down. Once I seen like the pressure put on them, it takes a toll on me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the youngest of 9. When my mom was locked up and my father passed away, you know what I'm saying?
That's some
It
man
was
shit,
really
though. Respect
just
to
me
him.
and my siblings. And I have my older brothers don't have papers, they're in Mexico, you get me? And one of them already died. So it's just me and my sisters, and then I have a brother who really be on his own world. So I really had to like either step in or step out. Once you get into this, like the money is here, this is really what makes you, a little bit.
Shout out
like,
him, though,
extra,
but it sucks that he
especially
has to go
in
this way, bro.
society where the bills take up everything, all the money you make, every job you have, every every dollar you make is gonna go to a bill. You get me? At least now right here, I'm able to feed my family, pay my bills, and still, you know, go have some fun.
Are a lot of these guys
That's some
balling
bad
off
shit though,
this?
for real.
If we were to catch a group right now, they look like hammered dog shit, man. They just beat up because they've been hiking for 4 or 5 days through the mountains. A lot of times they're drinking a concoction of like meth and fentanyl and cocaine, and so they're all wired up, not feeling shit.
Oh, what the fuck? I think it's crazy that people can actually make it across this stuff, because that's like
depression here
hot as
and
fuck
kind
there.
of bushes and stuff like that. You can see how the grass is kind of beat down, which means there's been people in here. And then you'll start seeing the black bottles that's traditionally smuggler trash. They carry the black bottles with water all the way up from Mexico. There's parts in Mexico where they're buying all this stuff. They're buying the camouflage, they're buying the black bottles.
What goes in the black bottles?
Water. They black them out so that they're not shiny, visible. And so you'll see them kind of scattered throughout here. You should start seeing some of the clothing and stuff. So they've, like, by the time they get to this point, they've already been backpacking for 4 or 5 days.
Oh my God, I'm a
up from
genius.
Mexico. Then they get here, and this is kind of their final staging point where they will kind of hang out and wait for a ride to come get them. And so typically speaking, this is where they kind of discard their clothing, discard any trash that they have.
I think it's kind of crazy.
And,
Like, how do you get the phone service?
jump
and
in
stuff
their
to work
ride
out
and
there?
go.
Like, there's no service out there. Like, they just tell them they just gotta be prepared and just gotta be like coincidence.
So they'll get in this
Oh, wait, damn,
little
bro,
cut
so
here, and you
fucking
can kind of
stupid.
see from the grass pressed down. They'll just get in here, rest, and wait for their ride to come get them. And I mean, we're 10 yards off of Interstate 8, and so car will pull up, give a signal, they'll jump out of this spot, go load into the car real quick, and then they're off and running. One thing they did start doing too is when they know that we are onto them because of the stuff they're leaving behind, they would start collecting it all into a trash bag or whatever, and then they would have one person take it off 100 couple yards away so that it didn't give away their position as much.
Do you have any opinion of the new Mexican president, Sheinbaum? Like, has she changed things at all with how you guys do business?
Money talks.
So it's business as usual in Mexico, officials are being paid off, police forces are getting paid off, and business keeps going?
Yeah.
How hard is it to bribe a police officer?
Here?
Well, yeah, I guess compare America and Mexico.
Mexico's easy, right? Oh.
You can bribe people here?
Oh, yeah.
What percent of cops in border towns in Arizona would you say are in some ways paid off?
At least 3/4.
Damn.
Oh, yeah.
And how much does it cost to buy a cop?
It just depends if it's a one-time thing. You know, you throw them a couple grand. And if it's an ongoing thing, you put them on the salary, you give them, you know, 3 or 4 grand a month.
There's really that many American
third
cops on
extra,
payroll
bro.
like that?
3/4 though.
We spoke with a cartel member last night that
Shit, so
alleged
basically he
that one
could-
of the ways it gets through is paying off Border Patrol, paying off police.
Yeah, I would not disagree with that. I know from the years that I've worked that we've had compromised Border Patrol agents, we've had compromised officers, so
Hey, he
same
could
thing.
potentially
They,
be one. That's why you know all this
they make
information.
a lucrative offer to somebody who is not making very much money, and people compromise their integrity for that. And
Have you ever had to fire somebody because you caught them doing that?
Oh, yeah.
we worked a case when I was working undercover. We had one of our guys that was involved, and we had to work a case on him and ultimately arrested him with the help of the FBI.
Now, I'm going to throw out the number he said, which I think is kind of crazy, but I want your take on it.
All right.
He said, about 60-70% of the Border Patrol and cops.
No, he's full of shit. Not on the U.S. side. The Mexico cops are more easily compromised, and on that side, it is the threat of violence because way back
Their
when
families.
we talked to a compromised Mexico police officer, and he told us it was as simple as this. I was trying to be a good local cop. I was just watching traffic, and I was stopping speeders, and I got blocked in by 2 vehicles, and a guy gets in the passenger side, and he said, "Hey, you know who I am?" And he said, I knew who he was. He was a local cartel boss, and he said, "Hey, we want you to work for us. All you have to do is not be on this road from these times to these times, right?" And the guy said, "No, I'm not. I'm an upstanding citizen. I'm not part of your crew, none of that crap." They said, "Okay." here's a picture of your wife and family, and we have eyes on them right now, and you basically have 60 seconds to make your choice, whether you're with us or against us. And if you're against us, then your family's going to pay the price, right? And so all I had to do was not watch this road and keep my family alive. And
you can't say that's easy compromise, bro. Somebody say something about the family, bro.
A couple grand and
like money and family is
different,
bro.
Time, right? We think that he had done it more than that, but you're talking a couple grand is what he had compromised himself for.
I couldn't believe and didn't quite buy the numbers that many U.S. Border Patrol agents or U.S. cops were bought and paid for by the Mexican cartels. So I called another Sinaloa contact of mine to see if he could add some insight on those numbers. Here's what he said. Would you agree with the stat, 60 to 70%
like
of them?
every criminal's phone number, bro.
Some of them don't even have a choice. If you say no to the amount of money, like fool, you don't have a choice. You feel me? We control you. I have a couple of them that go picture my people and pass them over. You feel me? All you have to do is follow instructions.
What is the cost to buy a Border Patrol agent?
A week, 9,500. But remember, some of them would get a kilo, you know, some of them want some kilos, some of them want some yellow, you feel me? So some of them want money, so some of them drug.
Even after talking to this guy, I still doubt those numbers. I feel like these guys only come in contact with Border Patrol agents that are corrupted, so in their view, all of them are. But I just can't believe that the majority of Border Patrol agents are bought. I just don't think it's true. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
What you making a day?
Maybe like 40, 30, 40.
My brothers live off $150 a month. USD, let that sink in. I can make that in like in one sale. One gun transaction you give me, I can make way more than that in one gun transaction and send that over right there.
You ain't got bash your brother,
In a good month, how many guns can you get across the border?
I want to say close to 1,000.
1,000
This
guns.
nigga's gonna say that.
The cartel guy we spoke to last night claimed that in a typical month he might be able to get 1,000 guns across the border. Do you think that's credible?
Yeah, that's absolutely credible.
Is it even possible?
I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy how like Tommy always talks like the good and the bad, and like, can he not be arrested for this?
Probably, yeah, because he's not wanting to
My
get
bad,
the
I'm just
bosses in
thinking.
trouble.
So you have a few
My bad.
runners daily going. Is it with Border Patrol too? You can buy off Border Patrol?
Oh, definitely.
So like, do you have to, because obviously you don't just stroll up there and ask, like, do you have to meet him at a bar? Do you have to, like, how do you initiate this?
They're sent to train.
What does that mean?
They're sent to the academy.
Tell me about the clashes going on right now. Are things fairly stable, or is there a lot of battles happening?
No, right? I mean, there's always going to be, you know, a tug of war between powers. It goes through its dormant times. Right now it's active.
The danger he's speaking of refers to the war currently happening within the Sinaloa cartel. Since El Chapo's imprisonment in 2017, the group has splintered, with two main factions now holding power. One is led by LMAO, a co-founder of Sinaloa and some say El Chapo's equal. The other is Los Chapitos, led by El Chapo's sons, known for being younger, flashier, and more aggressive. Their turf war has triggered waves of violence, including this recent story detailing the deaths of dozens of teens in Mexico. And from what I've heard from sources close to the action, this fighting is not expected to end anytime soon. What attracted you to this lifestyle?
Honestly, the adrenaline.
Is it terrifying working for a cartel?
Stressful, not terrified.
So as long as you follow the rules,
Bro, these niggas
do honest business, you're kind of in good standing, there's nothing to worry about.
bold as hell, bro. Bold as hell.
The one thing I wanted to fact check on to see if you had a perspective on is Trump's claim that the majority of people coming over are murderers and rapists. In my boots on the ground journalism, I found out most of the people are just looking for a factory job, fast food job. They're not a murderer. Do you feel like that rhetoric was accurate or a little overblown?
I would say that depends on the area, dude. Because like this area right now, we see military-aged males all camoed out, moving up, and those males are all at that ripe gangster age. And a lot of them, when we jump the groups, they are gang members. So if you're talking this area, absolutely, he's absolutely right. This is Thugville out here, man. It's all gangsters, cartel members, guys that are trying to fly under the radar. You'll have a few good people mixed in with that are really just looking for a better life. the other problem that we saw here in Arizona
I like how he's keeping it
was
real.
a lot of these military-age males, when they got to the border and got across into the U.S., they immediately discarded their passports, any IDs, anything like that. They got rid of them, burned them, whatever they could do with them. Why the hell are you going to get rid of your ID if you're not up to something nefarious?
So it did seem sinister.
Yes, absolutely.
Once you're in this, is it possible to leave, or are you pretty much in it for, you know, for life?
You can step away. Easiest way to put it, you're a reservist at that point. As long as all your corners are covered, you turn into a reservist. So if you're needed and you're called up, you better show up.
How dangerous is it?
Oh, I was
for
about
you
to say,
even
you are in there for life. I ain't heard that answer.
I'm risking a lot doing this. I'll put it that way, I'm risking my arm. Let's just say that.
And folks, for all the readers out there, get this book. I got the link in the description. If you want to learn more about real boots on the ground law enforcement experience, I recommend you get it. Links in the description. Power and legends of the Mexican cartels have long fascinated me, and it's my goal to cover the story in Mexico one day if I can find the right contacts to do this safely. Email me at TommyGMcGee123@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram to reach me if you think this might be you. I also wanted to remind you guys to check out Ground
You
News
wanna
because
get
I think in
in?
this era it is more important than ever to be
Bold
properly
nigga,
informed
bro.
and aware of what legitimate
Bold.
news might be or whether it's biased propaganda. And finally, let me know in the comments how you think the gun smugglers compare to the military-industrial complex. I appreciate
Same
you
thing.
guys. Thank you for
Same
watching,
people.
and see you next week.
That's the judge in prisons using prison. Hey, Tommy G, love your videos, bro. Keep that shit up, twin. But if you made it this far in my video, like, comment, subscribe, and